Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem, amma ba'd. Okay, last couple of classes, we discussed the economic thought and its philosophy. So we went to talk about Greek philosophy, because we wanted to start from the beginning, so far that we have whatsoever is documented. So we talked about Greek philosophy, and I hope you have some questions. I think probably you may ask yourself, these questions and identify the significance of each of the following. All those Greek philosophy and also Greek philosophers. And you can also list the major economic tenets of Greek thought. Which of these are also tenets of Islamic thought? On what major tenets did the Greek philosophers agree? On which did they disagree? Which of the Greek philosophers' ideas most closely match Islamic thought? So these are the questions we got, yeah. And then, here we are going to talk about the next. Okay. Basically, we are supposed to talk about, chronologically speaking, we need to talk about Islamic economic thought. Because if you look at the time frame, after Greek philosophy, the Muslims are the Muslim scholars are the one who talked about the matters that related to economics. But that is our subject for the entire semester, so I want to just skip for a while, just for now. Then I will be back to that. Then we will discuss what exactly happened during those period, what we call golden era for Muslims. Then what's happening now in 20th century, what are the works has been done with regard to Islamic economic thought. So these are the things actually we need to discuss in details later after this. But before that, as I'm doing this in chronological order. So we need to go back and talk about, the scholasticism. Then we talk about mercantilism, physiocratic, and then classical economic, then mainstream economics that we are having today. All right. So if you want to see what exactly scholasticism is actually, it comes from the word. It comes from the word scholasticus. It's a Latinized form of the Greek word. The Greek word will be like scholastikos or something, yeah. Okay, what exactly the meaning of scholasticism is actually pertains to a school, like scholars, schools, scholars, scholasticism. It's like that, all right. So to understand it, actually, we need to know this is actually identified as Christian theology during the medieval period. Hence, the scholastic word, the scholastics refer to any institute, actually speaking, because when the Christian theology was in Christian theology, when they want to bring it to the mass, they actually brought it through universities and institute. Then the Christian thinkers, they are the one who wanted this, brought the questions relating to the reconciliation of, between reason and revelation, or science and faith, or philosophy and theology. So basically speaking, it's a merging, it's a merging act. They want to, because they were also faced, defending the universalizing, because they also want to universalize so-called, Catholic faith, and they also wanted to establish the authority of Christianity, authority of Bible, for example. They want to, it's exactly, what, in a way that we are trying to do with the recent integration, the Islamization thing. But of course, long time ago, they also wanted to, bring this universally called Catholic faith, right? So in order to do that, they have to become, in order to universalize it, they have to become the doctors of the church, right? Like, for example, doctor of philosophy, right? Today we have the lecturers called doctors of philosophy, but they need actually doctors of church, or teachers of the faith, who developed a method in the teachings of, the dogmas, the cult and religion of, the church, of the Christianity. Yeah, that's what basically they wanted to do. And then what happened? Okay, this thing actually, when they want to bring theology into the mind, they have to also go through what was already there in those kind of institute, which was obviously people got very much interacted with the recovery and appropriation of, Aristotle philosophy, because Aristotle was there in everybody's mind. That's why scholasticism began originally. The idea of scholasticism began because they want to synthesize Aristotle's philosophy and also Christian theology. So philosophy, theology, Aristotle, Christian, right? And they just want to see the implications, how this synthesis can bring into somebody's life. That was basically the idea of, scholasticism. Yeah. And also there were so many scholars of it. So you need to understand here, scholasticism is not a philosophy, it's not a theology, but it's like, the tool. It's like, they use as a tool, or the method of learning, which can emphasize dialectical reasoning that inspired by Aristotle. So I think you can also, if you look at this idea of synthesizing, I think some of you already having some idea about Muslim scholars who wanted to do the same thing. If, mashallah, that's the thing, when Arab Muslims, those who learn Arabic, and then they are the scholars, they also, wanted to synthesize this. That's why they went to Mantiq, and then they went to this Greek philosophy. Imam Ghazali learned all those things and then wanted to bring those things, right? He talks about the rationality and everything. It is all actually happened a long time ago, and then later only this. You see how forward we are, and how forgotten we are. All this scholastic, just put it in this way, okay? That's why please remember, we are learning the history, so you need to make sure that you understand the history on the right. You are on the right track to understand the history. Christianity came first. Of course, Bible came first. Quran came later, almost 700 years. Okay, okay. But as Islam came, Quran and Sunnah completed our deen, and then our ulama and fuqaha, muhaddisin, mutasawwifin, all those Sufi scholars and everybody, mutakallimun, all those people, Ash'ari, Maturidi, everybody started talking about this logic and Aristotle and all this Greek philosophy and everything. That's the reason why you have, mashallah, groups and groups of scholars, starting from Imam Razi, Imam Ghazali, of course, and then you have so many other scholars. I mean, numbers of scholars. Almost everybody, talks about it. Ibn Hazm, Mundalusi, Al-Zahiri, in fact, Turtushi, in fact, so many scholars actually we have who are talking about the synthesizing the logic and the aqidah, but they always wanted to see the clarity in it, right? So we did it before this scholastic group that what we are discussing right now, because this scholastic scholars who came only after 12th century, who came only after 12th, 13th, 14th century. And our scholars started talking about all these things 7, 8, 9. But we've been forgotten in the history. We are not being forwarded, but the Christian scholars are being like, Thomas Aquinas, so many other. You have something? Okay.
I don't think we can hear your voice.
Oh, is that clear now? Can you hear my voice now?
Lido.
Okay. Please let me know if my voice is not good. No, I mean you are not hearing my voice. So how many of
Sir, we can barely hear you. Like it's very, very far away.
I see. I don't know what's wrong with my mic. In that case, just let me change some setting. Yeah. Let me just I will change some other mic. Sorry about it. Okay, how is it now? Is it clear?
Yes.
Is it better than the last one? Mic testing 1, 2, 3. How is it? Let me know. Is it better than the last one?
It's still the same as that.
It's the same. Okay, how is it now? Do you hear something? Are you hearing me?
Yes.
How is the sound now?
It's like you are very far away, sir,
Oh,
from the mic.
I don't know, something wrong with this. Can you hear me now? How is it?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It's much better.
Yes, sir.
This one is much better. Okay.
Yes.
Actually, I have 3 options of mic here because I know I always come with extra mic. So I just went to the options and changed all 3. Is it better now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah, it's better
Thank
now.
you. Why you didn't stop me? I've been talking 20 minutes already.
I don't know, it just
No,
started to
before
be
it was
very,
fine.
yeah.
Or maybe you already got bored, so you didn't want to
No, no,
hear me. You
No,
didn't
no,
want to
no,
hear me
it
out.
was
no,
fine
sir.
at first.
Yeah.
Because the history is boring, right?
No,
But I don't know. I really find interesting, to talk about all this, at least to connect to where are we and where are they, and to see what is it actually we missed. It's quite interesting. I didn't even go back to the Muslim scholars history, because I also want to bring, when there will be when we talk about Umayyad and Abbasid, inshallah I want to bring also the history of those people, how they did everything. But this one is overall talking.
with regard to this economic thought. I was just thinking, when I read about scholasticism, because it's what they have done is actually nothing new, because they want to bring the synthesis of philosophy and theology, synthesis of religion and science, right? All these things we brought it already long time ago, but we were not being mentioned. So that is it looks like only the recent scholars. You see now, for example, our university, mashallah, we are promoting this Islamization of knowledge, right? Integrating Islamization, Aqliyah, Naqliyah, right? This is actually not something new we are doing. Don't think that we are the first university actually doing this. We are actually reviving this because it's been there for so long already. Because those days, let me give you an example, okay? Anybody familiar with Fakhruddin Razi?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Fakhruddin Razi, he used to be a, mashallah, great scholar. Do you know he wrote a tafsir, which name is Tafsir al-Kabir. They call it Tafsir al-Kabir, yeah, Mahadasa, the big tafsir. Do you know why it is called Tafsir al-Kabir? Because in that book of tafsir, because it's almost 30, 40, 50 volumes, almost 30 to 50 volumes. In that tafsir, there is everything in there except the tafsir. Do you understand my point? There is everything. He talks about everything. If you compare that tafsir and other tafsir, mostly the tafsir, they talk about Quranic verses and then give you the tafsir of the Quranic verses. But Fakhruddin Razi talks about everything: physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics. That's why that's amazing. That's why later people, when you see the scholars of Quran and Sunnah, they don't know anything about science. And then you have the scholars of science, they don't know anything about Quran and Sunnah. Then we both, have differences in our reading, isn't it? So I get bored when you talk about your subject, and you get bored when I talk about my subject. Is it that happening? Right? But those days is not like that. So that's why people who read later, like later centuries, who read Fakhruddin Razi's Tafsir al-Kabir, they were not able to relate themselves to that subject. But he's beyond, talking about everything, talking about mantiq, talking about the logic, so many things. So even he talks about medicine, yeah. So that's why it's quite important to understand this, So try to understand this scholasticism like we are discussing right now. And later you need to know also that we are the one who were pioneer of these ideas. So you can see here, scholastic idea of exchanging argument and exchanging counter arguments for the pursuit of conclusion. All these things actually. The idea that Aristotle idea, but they want to bring into Christian theology. That is what happened to be called scholasticism, right? So you have many scholars to talk about it. Let's say if you want to know a few scholars, like we have, of course. They call it Peter Anselm. Peter Abelard is the founder, and also later Saint Thomas Aquinas is the one also who brought this idea, right? But anyway, these scholasticism were the idea of scholasticism, where the idea occurred in their world. Let's say European world, okay. In European world, this was the system of theology and philosophy taught in medieval European universities. From there, they want to emphasize the tradition and dogma. All right. And from there, they want to synthesize the Aristotle logic and also Christian theology. Later, we have this mercantilism. This is why we need to learn about mercantilism, because mercantilism is what actually brought the colonialism, right? Why actually British they came to India, why they came to Malaysia, why they came to all over the world? Because it's not that they know one day they have to leave these countries. All right, they cannot stay in India forever. They cannot stay because they are not Indians. They cannot stay in Malaysia forever because they are not Malaysians. They know that one day they have to go, but they didn't come here to stay and stay forever. No, they came here for the purpose of business, because they came here for what? They believe in the benefit of profitable trading. So because they thought this, import and export, they thought more export and less import will make will make any country into rich country. And their idea is to get the raw materials from the colonized countries, for example, Africa, India, bring all those materials to their country, Europe's, and then from there they manufacture and then they export into other countries. The idea why they have to export other countries, so that they can actually they can control the monetary system, because they want to keep more gold and silver. And they did the restriction. If some other country, let's say if any African country want to do the same, they will go unrestricted. They will say, no, you cannot do that. If you want to do that, you have to send it to my country and my country will do the export. You cannot do the export, because they stop the free trading. You know about the free trading, right? You see how Adam Smith come up everything. Why Adam Smith became famous, in order to know that, you need to learn all these things, how it came or how it became. So now mercantilism, their economic theory, actually, what they want to generate wealth and stimulate by the accumulation, because they want every government, their government, not every means not every, their European governments should encourage by means of protectionism, right? Because their system is actually something to attempt, wealth gathering, attempt to amass wealth gathering through trade with other countries. Of course, they didn't come here to do war. The war happened after they colonized you. Then the other side, Japanese, they want to also colonize you, and then this British and Japanese, they become enemy, and then the British brought the Indian army to Singapore, and then the Japanese army came there, and then they started fighting each other. Even they use the colonized people to fight against the enemy. Look how look at the history, subhanallah. So what I'm trying to tell, they didn't straight away come to the fight. They came purely for business. I know I'm very much I know this very well, because my part of India is actually where actually the Portuguese, they are the one who came first. I think Dutch is the one who came first. The reason they came to our part of India is because they saw the black pepper for the first time. Black pepper, yeah, because they don't have the black pepper. They call it black gold. So this is emas hitam, yeah. So this is the black gold, and they wanted to have it, and they started doing business with that, and then slowly they come in, and then they found basically spices. because you know that those European countries, they don't have the soil for spices, they don't have the environment, they don't have the season, the proper season for spices, and they already know how important spices is, because spices is something that can give you energy to your body. I think that's the reason why you always like roti chana and fish curry. Yeah? That's why I know, because your body needs more fish curry because you like spices, right? That's the reason why, you know, we are very much active. So, and then also our skin, you know, our skin, everything, you know, is reproducing the cells because of some sort of eating method that we are having, right? We are not all the time eating the meat. We also eat spices, meat together with the meat, without meat, even we put spices in so many vegetables and everything. Anyway, this is other part of discussion. All right. So I'm just telling you mercantilism, how it came, and they want to. Their system is actually, you know, wealth gathering, and they want to store. They want to store gold and precious metals in their country. By doing this, they want to become strong. Like even today, also you can see some countries, you know, still wants to keep. They want to do undervaluation of currency. Some government want to buy foreign currencies assets, you know, to keep undervalued and make export more competitive. This is also happening, of course. You know, some countries are doing it. Anyway, this free trade is actually ended. Free trade came and then ended mercantilism in 18th century. All right. Then you have then you need to also know how this free trade came and then the free trade ended the mercantilism, because um, while most of the European countries were practicing mercantilism, there was a country by the name of France, because not necessarily all of them are together, you know. Of course, they also have differences. So the French colony, they saw things different. They said they actually support, they are the first people who support free trade actually. But they brought the idea of, you know, the value of the land. Because, you know, the most of the countries in Europe, they wanted to go for trading, business and trading. They said doing business and trade, actually they can give value to the country, they can control their country. But physiocracy, the one actually wanted to put the idea of, you know, make the, I mean, firm the idea of, you know, agriculture is actually has more value than business. This is what they want to bring the idea. So they support farmers, they support, you know, agricultural products, and not only they support, they also made more expensive. They wanted to see, they wanted to show that the farmers must be the richest people in the world, which is actually good. I agree with that. This is what physiocracy's idea in France for a few decades, maybe this idea was there. In fact, you know, Adam Smith is the one who comes next, which is actually classical economics, right? Adam Smith, in fact, he actually went to France, and he also met his name was Quesna, the physiocrat, the one who originally the pioneer of physiocracy, Quinas. I think Kusney, something named Kusney, yeah. So he's the one. So he went and he met him, and then he actually bought the idea of free trade, because he was actually totally against of mercantilism. Adam Smith was totally against mercantilism, but at the same time, Adam Smith was also partially against of physiocracy. Why? Because he support the idea of free trade, of course. He support the idea that's, you know, he brought that idea from physiocrats. Actually, free trade. Free trade is not solely Adam Smith idea. Um, so he actually saw it, but he disagree with, agricultural, of course, the land value in agriculture. He disagree that not agriculture is cannot actually uh, give wealth to the nation unless that agricultural products move into trade and business. So you see, he saw that these products, even though it's agricultural products, must be packaged in a way that can, because without business and trade, let's say, for example, in a way it is also true. Some countries are totally agricultural country. Even back in India also, I have this experience. I have seen sometimes, onion, mostly onion comes from India, right? When you don't have onion, you always blame India. I know. I have also seen many times back in India. I have seen that onions are on the road because too much productivity. Too much productivity. They don't know how to sell it, and then they don't know how to sell outside. They don't know how to export it. Too much productivity not only that brings you loss, it also brings you other problems because you don't know what to do with that product. Let's say too much rice. In so many places back in India, they keep rice, and then by storing and storing, it's all of a sudden, if rain comes, and then it all wash away, and then it becomes spoil and everything. So again, they don't know how to make it right. So what I'm trying to tell is, yes, agriculture is very important, very good, but if you don't have the tactics, if you don't have the strategy how to convert into trade, then that's why from mercantilism, learn from the mercantilism, and then learn from the physiocracy, then only Adam Smith was able to write Wealth of Nation. So now, if you want to know what exactly he is referring, where exactly he is referring Wealth of Nation, I think this is what actually he is trying to, he's trying to refer Wealth of Nation. Yeah. So that is the idea of this. I just want to bring it to you for a few minutes, and then let me just go. Okay. So I think now the classical economics, and then how the mainstream economics came into today. So mostly what you are learning today is actually mainstream economics. So I think I don't think I'm the right person for you to teach mainstream economics. You have already learned 2-3 years already. So yeah, I just want to bring back to you, to this, because our concern here is actually to know about this Muslim contribution. Right now, look at this place of Muslim scholars in the family tree of mainstream economics. Look at it. So now you clearly understand where exactly we are. So now we are going to talk about this Muslim contribution. To start with it, I want to bring this another figure as well. As you can see that we have Quranic teaching, Muslim scholars, 10th to 15th century. As you can see that it goes down today, modern Islamic economy. Okay, today we have modern Islamic economics as a discipline, is a different thing. But before we go into that modern Islamic economics, we are actually going to talk about Muslim scholars in 10th to 15th century AD. Okay. So most of our semester is actually going to talk about the scholars of that period. All right. So this is how we actually going to talk up. We are going to talk about the entire Muslim scholars' contribution through the timeline. All right, we have the phases. First, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. I will give you within this week and next week, I'm going to give you the overall picture of the entire scholars' names. And also I'm going to give you what are the work has been done on these scholars. For example, Abu Yusuf, Abu Ubaid, Yahya ibn Adam, Shaybani. So now we have plenty of scholars like this who are actually classical economics, classical Islamic economic scholars. What are the works has been done recently? That is also very important for you to know. So let me just bring that to you. So this is actually what we are going to cover in upcoming classes, contribution of Muslim scholars to economic thought analysis, missing link in the history. This is what we saw just now, the missing link. Let's go to the literature review. What I mean by literature review, try to understand this, don't get it wrong. By telling you the literature review, I'm not actually going to give you what are the contributions, what are the books has been written in those golden area, golden period. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do that later, one by one, because we have entire semester to talk about it. This literature review is I'm going to open this literature review because I want to tell you what are the work until today has been done on those scholars. Yeah. Okay. So this is the literatures. Yeah, I think you can see that first of all, as you can see that this academic writing only started just recently within these 100 years, right? Because before that we have those are considered to be a classical manuscript, classical work, but the work has been done, the work have been done, and the work has been submitted to the institute and universities started only within this century. So writers on history of economic thought, and then of course they talk about the Middle Ages when Europe came out from darkness. Okay, starting from the second quarter of 20th century. All right, we have the first ever writing, talking about because you see only after this only people, for example, people like me talking about Islamic economic thought and their contribution, right? So people like me only started talking after 1933. Before that we don't know, actually we don't know that how to relate, people like me, how to relate economics and our scholars work, because you know that the term economics was not there in those 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 century, all in 5 centuries. I think until Adam Smith came, there was no term called economics. They call it differently, right? So that's why we were not able to relate until only 1933 in Arabic. That one also not in English. Look, it is in Arabic. The English one came later. Saleh, he wrote Arab economic thought in the 15th century. That is, I think, the first book. Then he talks about Ibn Khaldun, he talks about al-Maqrizi, he talks about Dulaji. So these are the scholars actually what we are going to learn in the entire semester, Ibn Khaldun, Maqrizi, all these things. Then in 1934, someone wrote on al-Biruni, right? Economic views, al-Biruni, again in Arabic. Then Sheikh Rifat, 1937, he wrote on Ibn Khaldun, but the book was in Urdu. You see, even Urdu was actually before writing English and other languages. Then Abdul Qadir in 1941 talked about again the social and political ideas of Ibn Khaldun, again in Arabic. Then the first PhD, the previous one all done actually. Those are the books written, but the first PhD academic writing started by Nashat. He wrote in Cairo University, Al-Jamia Al-Qahira. He wrote economic thought in Prolegomena of Ibn Khaldun in Arabic, of course. The first half of the centuries were in Urdu and Arabic, but they were not the professional people actually. Today, what we call professional people, they were not the professional people. They were just, contributed to this. Next, we have English work. The first English work found written by Joseph Sculptor, because he's the one who talks about the gap Actually, he is the one who, talk about this, this Muslim contribution, because he says that, there is a kind of injustice that, no one identified this gap. He said that it's a kind of injustice. So he started talking about, it's called his thesis of gap, right, Joseph? History of economic analysis talks about the great gap. Then we have, mashallah, right now we have Siddiqui. He wrote Economic Thought of Qadi Abu Yusuf, right? Which actually, Abu Yusuf is the first scholar, actually, Abu Yusuf is the first scholar that we are going to learn. He wrote the book Kitab al-Kharaj, right? So inshallah, after 2 weeks, inshallah, we will, maybe after 1 week, inshallah, we will start reading Abu Yusuf. Then someone, Spengler, 1964, wrote Economic Thought of Islam, then starting Ibn Khaldun. Then we have Siddiqui, again, 1980, talks about Muslim economic thinking. I think I have that book with me here. Yes, I have. So he brought so many scholars' name, actually, right? Muslim economic thinking. Then we have Siddiqui, again, 1982, recent work on history, economic thought in Islam. Look, Siddiqui actually brought those work available on history of economic thought in Islam. I think that work has been published in a book called Readings in Islamic Economic Thought. I think this is the book, yeah? You see the book? Readings in, yeah, this is the book. Then we have 1987, Mirakhor, talk about Muslim scholars and history of economics, a need for consideration, serious omission in the history of economics, a profound contribution made by Muslim scholars. Both motive and opportunity existed for the medieval European scholars to be influenced the economic ideas and institutions developed in medieval Islam, and that based on the available evidences. They avail themselves of such an opportunity by using some of the available knowledge to advance their ideas. Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah. Then we have Ghazanfar, 1988. Yeah, scholastic economics and the Arab scholars. I think again I have that book. Yeah, I have it. Scholastic economics and Arab scholars, the great gap thesis reconsidered. So I think you are free to come to my office if you want to see some books, pertaining to this, related to this idea. All right, you can come anytime to my office to see it. Then we have 1995 history of economic thought. Okay, here he talks about the Scumerian great gap, the lost Arab Islamic legacy, and the literature gap. Then we have Al-Islam wal-Nuqud, Islam and Money by Rafiq Yunus al-Misri. Then Economic Thought of Ibn Qayyim, written by Abdul Azim Islahi, actually a great scholar. He currently lives, he's from India, by the way. He actually currently lives in Saudi. He has a unit, institute for this. He is the one, I think, mostly he covered so many books, and then he wrote review. He reviewed so many books in history of economic thought, Islamic economic thought. The next book also belonged to him, the Ibn Taymiyyah Concept of Market Mechanism, History of Economic Thought in Islam, right? Economic Thought of Al-Ghazali. See, Al-Ghazali, yeah. And then we have Fiqh al-Iqtisad al-Islami, Qira'a fi Turath. This is amazing. Sorry. On Islamic economic thought, reading in the heritage. I think I really want to get this book, but the book is not available in our library. فعل الفكر الاقتصادي الإسلامي. Okay, if you have this book, you'll read, inshallah. So I think these are the very short literature that I just want to bring it to you. I think I have also some other long history of review. Sorry, maybe I think I can just give you a few things, but I have a lot. I wrote it. I compiled it in some other places. I have it in my different file. This is actually basically the work that written by Al-Islahi, There is Islam. He wrote a book, 30 years of research, 30 years of research on history of Islamic economic thought, assessment, and future direction. All right, let me just give you an idea of his book. So his book actually consists of five chapters. Okay, consists of 5 chapters. Okay, you can write it down. His book consists of 5 chapters. The first chapter talks about phases in development of Islamic economic thought. Right. So these phases, inshallah, we are going to cover here. All right. The phases we are going to cover. History of Islamic economic thought can be divided into 4 phases. The first one is foundation. Then we have foundation actually starting from Prophet ﷺ period, right? And then into 450. Then from 450 into 850. Then you have 850 to 1350. Then 1350 Hijrah. So you can see the differences after Hijrah. I put both dates actually, right? And then 1350 is actually what around 91 years ago. 1350 Hijrah means today actually 1442, right? Yeah, now it's 1442 Hijrah, right? The present time. Okay, these are the phases that he talks about. So we will be inshallah discussing about this. What was the work in the foundation? Then we go to the second phase, the third phase. Okay, so inshallah we will come to that. But before that, let me finish his book and give you the overall about his work. Yeah. Okay, the first chapter talks about the phases in the development of Islamic economic thought. The second chapter talks about earlier works on the history of Islamic economic thought. Earlier works on the history of Islamic economic thought. So he talks about the works during the first half of the 20th century. Then he talks about B, progress of literature from 1950 to 1975. Okay, so then he mentioned so many names, so many names. I don't want to give you the names because I am not showing you the slides, so I'm just reading from my notes. So I just give you the overall idea first. So A talks about works during the first half of the century, 20th century. Then B, progress of literature from 1950 to 1975. Okay, this is the chapter number 2, finish. Then he has chapter number 3. The chapter number 3, where he specifically wants to concentrate on last 30 years. During the last 30 years, between 1976 2006, yeah. So he talks about last. I think his book was published 2006. Now 2020. Oh, mashallah, time flies, yeah. Wow, very fast, very fast. So we need to tell the time, go slow. Of course, the time will not listen to anybody. Will you listen to you, Azura? No, huh? It won't listen to anybody. So you can see last 30 years between 1976, 2006, yeah. So he talks about A, he talks about the first international conference on Islamic economics, a turning point. Okay, this is A, he talks about B, the last 30 years work. B, he talks about, he categorically bringing the references author-wise. So now B is actually author-wise. So now he will be saying what Siddiqui wrote about, what Siddiqui wrote, what Aidit Ghazali wrote, what are the books on Al-Ghazali, what are the books on Al-Qayyim, what are the books on Al-Shatibi, you know, this author-wise. Then C, he talks about idea-wise. Let's say he will be saying what are the books available in public finance, what are the books available in market and pricing, what are the books available in money and banking, partnership and mudaraba, al-hisba, waqaf, you know, this kind of thing. So you have A, he talks about the international conference, the first in the conference. B, author-wise. C, idea-wise. D, collected papers and general themes. So the other themes that, you know, for example, he talks about similar to this book, yeah, similar to this book. Readings in Islamic economic thought, He talks about the book written by Ghazanfar, Medieval Islamic Economic Thought. He talks about Hagari's PhD, The Origin and Evolution of Islamic Economic Thought. These are the things actually comes under D. Okay. Chapter 3 finished. Then he has chapter 4. In chapter 4, he talks about the impact on history works of mainstream economic thought. Impact on history works of mainstream economic thought. I think this is something very, very important as well, because this is where actually we don't have many works. We need to see that the impact on mainstream economic thought. This is something what actually I ask the last semester student to do. That was actually one of the I think that was, okay, that was actually term paper. Yeah, I asked them, every student, to go for individual term paper, and I asked them to choose one Muslim scholar and then choose his idea, and then see how that idea can contribute to the current economic thought or current economic studies discipline, whatever it is. So I gave them actually like 30-40 topics which is currently being used, and then I asked them to look into the classical economic scholars, any idea that can bring it here, and then I want them to do on that way. And let me just tell you this good news, because I'm having some good news in yesterday and today. Yesterday they accepted one paper. Today they accepted the abstract. I think I have 2 more papers also I'm sending for conference, written by our beloved students, your seniors. I think so. I think it is good if you can actually also do something on it, and then if your paper is very good, I will be helping you modifying things and everything. Then inshallah you will be the one who will be presenting into the conference, which is actually a very good contribution that you are doing, by the way. Why I'm telling to you all these things to you, because I don't see any other place that I can talk about it, because who else I can go and tell all this. Do you want me to go and meet IRK students to tell them? I don't think it won't work, because you are the one who actually learning the conventional economics, and I want you to also know what Muslim scholars has done, and then bring something into it. Because as I told you, what actually a Nobel Prize winner, what he has done is actually he brought that auction theory, right? I know there were some, I don't know, I'm not very sure, there were some work in auction theory, but I'm not very sure that whether that auction theory and his contribution is eligible to get the Nobel Prize. I'm not very sure about it, but he has done the work, of course. But I'm not very sure on what category they choose the Nobel Prize. But if this is what actually can go to Nobel Prize, or Faisal, okay, forget about Nobel Prize, go for Faisal Award, okay? Or any other award. We have a Toko Award, so many, mashallah. Most of the economists actually can get it. What I'm trying to tell here, actually, if you see there is a problem and they cannot solve it, and you want to bring it, you don't have to actually bring under the name of Islamic economics. You don't have to do that. You don't have to sell Islam. You don't have to do it, because Islam ya'lu wala yu'la. This is what Prophet ﷺ said. Islam always go up, we never go down. Okay, I don't have to sell my idea under the name of Islamic. You can actually, because if you are becoming an economist, you actually can bring the moral value you learn from any scholar, and you bring that moral value into it, and then you contribute into their theory. For example, you want to talk about theory of consumer behavior. What's happening today, how you can change the theory. The game theory, how you want to change it, how you want to contribute into something. Today, people, for example, today, the money market, the financial market, the insurance companies, for example, getting getting huge profits because not everybody is having accident. Not everybody having accident. Maybe 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000 is having accident. Only those people always get claim from the insurance. But now we don't know yet who is actually going to get problem because of the accident. We don't know, anything can happen. This is the fear always we have. Anything can happen, so better I pay the insurance. But now when I move to the next year, my last year I had no accident. Why is that I don't take the money that I paid? Right? Because we see the other side, this is just one example. I'm just giving you only one example because insurance people are making money. I know. Is there any theory that you can bring so that it's a win-win situation, so that you can avoid winner's curse? Because today's economics, based on winners takes all. Winners takes all. So do you think you can change it? You can change it by looking into what we have and then put it in the package and then supply it. I don't see any other place I can talk about it except in this. All right, at least few people come up with this thing and then start writing something, doing something, which will be great, inshallah. Right? So that was the idea. Okay, I was actually in chapter 4, right? Where was I?
Yes, sir. You're in
Okay.
chapter 4, impact on history works of mainstream Islamic thought.
Okay, thank you very much. Alhamdulillah, people are listening. Yeah, I thought you were not listening. I would take talking. All right, thank you. That's chapter 4. The last chapter, he talks about the future research agenda, where he talks about what can be done in future. So I think these are the 5 chapters. So I think I will stop here. All right. So in next class, inshallah, we will continue from phases in development of Islamic economic thought. All right. I will also show you the attendance. All right. Again, I open the floor for any questions. And if you don't have questions, don't worry, just share your comments, which is actually good. Please, if you have anything, you can share your comments as well. All right.